everyone, and welcome to the Fiber Broadband Association's Five for Breakfast. We're now on our 34th episode of 2024. Before we kick off, I'd like to thank Westco, the platinum sponsor of Five for Breakfast. You know, the $42.45 billion NTI BEAD grant program is now underway in Montana and Louisiana. You know, both states are accepting applications for their BEAD grants. Montana is awarding about $630 million in funding for fiber, and Louisiana is awarding $1.355 billion for fiber projects. So that's about $2 billion in funding for fiber projects for just the first two states. So that's everybody's at the starting gate, and that's open. NTI has also approved 35 states and territories, and we expect the remaining 21 to have their volume 2s approved shortly. So we're off to the races. You know, in Washington, D.C., it's a little quiet this week with the Democrats in Chicago at the DNC. So FBA's Marisa Mitrovic, our Vice President of Public Policy, is at the convention covering the event for our members. So we'll see how that works out this week. And we're only 3 weeks out from our next Fiber Connect regional workshop in Des Moines, Iowa. That's going to be held on Tuesday, September 10th. We hope to see you there. And then after Des Moines, we'll be in Panama City in Panama for our Latin America Fiber Connect, and that's on October 1st and 2nd. And then we'll be in Calgary, Alberta on October 8th. And then we'll be doing our Tribal Fiber Connect workshop in Albuquerque, New Mexico on November 7th. So we hope to see you at many of those opportunities over the next couple months. That brings us to today's Five for Breakfast session. Our guest today is Ron Westfall, the director of Futurum, to discuss his latest research in a session titled AI, Driving Fiber Deployment and Transformation. Before I formally introduce today's guest, I'd like to introduce David Norris from our team, who's going to walk through some housekeeping items.
Thank you very much, Gary. And good morning to everybody who's joined us today. Before I go over a couple of logistics, we'd like to once again thank our platinum sponsor of Fiber for Breakfast, Westco. Now, please keep in mind, all participants are in listen-only mode today. To ask a question, please type it into the question box located within the control panel on the top of your screen. We will host a Q&A session with our panelists at the end of today's session, so please do enter your questions. This presentation is also being recorded and will be available on FBA's website within 24 to 48 hours, and you can find that recording in the Events tab under the Fiber for Breakfast drop-down option. Finally, at the conclusion of today's presentation, you'll be prompted to complete a brief feedback survey. Please take a moment to do so. We appreciate your input. And with that, I will pass things back over to Gary to once again introduce our panelists and get things started. Gary?
Thanks, David. And last week on Five for Breakfast, our guest was our good friend, Jeff Hainan from the Delora Group, who discussed his latest research in a session titled Projecting PON and DOCSIS Equipment Spending. You know, the key takeaways from that session were, one is service providers' inventories are now normalizing, so we should see a stronger second half of 2024 for fiber to the home equipment providers. That's great news. Also, cable, he predicts cable is going to lose about 10 points of market share over the next couple of years to fiber providers. Cable, he's also shown that they're ramping up their fiber deployment for new builds and in areas where they face fiber competition. Cable's also, according to Jeff, doing their last time buy of DOCSIS outside plant taps and amps for their installed base of HFC to extend runway, but they will eventually upgrade the entire network to fiber to the home in the fullness of time. And then kind of the last key piece, we've seen fixed wireless access, take some market share. He's and forecasting that they will peak at about 12% market share, and then they'll start losing, roll off, so that little bubble as more fiber is being deployed. So if you missed Jeff's session last week, you can go to the FBA's website and watch the replay. Today on Five for Breakfast, our guest is Ron Westfall, the research director for Futurum, who's going to discuss his latest research in a session titled AI, Driving Fiber Deployment and Transformation. Ron is the research director and will share insights and takeaways from the Futurum Group's AI intelligence studies that impact the fiber ecosystem. Ron will spotlight how organizations are deploying AI services and how organizations plan to spend on AI, top AI solution selection criteria, and key AI market trends. So welcome, Ron. And for our audience, please type in your questions as you go, and we'll work those into the discussion. With that, let's get things started. And I'll hand it over to Ron.
Thank you, Gary. Always an honor to be on Fiber for Breakfast. It's become an annual tradition for us, and I'm certainly excited to share our insights as to why AI is driving fiber deployment transformation after I think, a very successful Fiber Connect 2024. This was certainly probably the hottest topic from my perspective. I thought it was. And with that, let's dive right in. Let's talk about, what is going on with the market in terms of AI. Next slide, please. All right. I think this is setting it up. This is, why did we conduct, this survey? And I think we ought to understand this. There's just surging demand for AI, and that certainly applies to AI workloads. And fundamentally, this is good news for the entire fiber ecosystem. That is, it's driving demand for more fiber builds. It's certainly playing a key role in this, along with other important content. And so this is actually creating something of a challenge. That is, can fiber keep up with all this surging demand that AI by itself is generating, in addition to all the other usual sources of demand? And what's coming along with this is actually AI can help with this overall process, and I'll give more details on that. That is helping in areas like automation, streamlining operations, and so forth. But what is also very important here as a key takeaway is that it's going to help improve workforce experience, customer experience, partner experience, really the overall experience. And that can trigger other benefits such as improving time to value, time to market, and as always, optimizing costs. And so what is, I think, going to be important to understand is that AI and fiber are meant for each other. That is, they're mutually reinforcing and beneficial. As I've already noted, AI is driving demand for more fiber, both in terms of broadband fiber, but also certainly fiber deployments throughout the entire networks, certainly in data centers, the WAN, metro rings, and so forth. But also, I think what is important here is that fiber is going to be integral to actually be able to scale and rapidly deploy AI services, AI capabilities, and applications, and so forth. And so I think that's something that will come out more as I drill down. So the next slide, please. And on the next slide, I would like to, first of all, share data that we had at the Telco Cloud panel at Fiber Connect 24. Nokia shared this information, and it's courtesy of NVIDIA. And that is tying AI directly to the overall telecommunications market. And I think what you're seeing here in both columns is that what is basically the expectations, why are organizations investing in AI, deploying AI, and so forth, adopting it. And I think if you look at the left column, I've already touched on this. First of all, it's about customer experience. And specifically, what does that entail? Well, I'm seeing some very compelling use cases already. For example, AI is playing a key role through GenAI chatbots as an example in terms of improving customer satisfaction. That is, call center representatives being able to look up information that's more precise, more real time, and being able to address customer needs, and thus reducing customer call times. And so that automatically generates benefits such as improved efficiency and being able to deploy resources where they are more valuable. Also, it's impacting things like field tech and so forth. But the important thing here is that this is at the top of the chart. And the second and third ones are reducing costs and improving employee productivity. And if you look at the overall chart, they're really all tied together. AI is having an across-the-board impact. It's not only about improving customer experience, but underlining that, improving productivity, improving network operations, and quite simply, raising revenue targets. And if you look at the right side, it's about the investment, following the money, if you will. And at the top, it's about the customer experience. I think we all understand why this is vital. It's about retaining customers. It's about quite simply having the best service offering out there in terms of the competition. Gary already touched on this in terms of DOCSIS alternatives, FWA alternatives, and sometimes they'll work together, but in many cases it's really about winning the mind share and winning that customer experience battle. And also in the top 3 is GenAI. I touched on that. It's really also about having customers being able to have a better relationship with the operator or with whomever is supplying the fiber. And I think this is going to be increasingly critical because we're already seeing on the workforce side, it's producing tangible benefits. And it also will be important things like bill explanation. If I'm a customer and I want to find out more information about why my bill came out the way it did, a GenAI chatbot can actually take care of it intelligently and thus offload having to call resources at the customer support desk. And security. As we know, security is essential. We can't have any successful fiber deployments as well as running very effective AI applications without security being built in. And I'll show how AI is actually playing a very important role in making security all the better. And I think we understand this because with the CrowdStrike incident, we know that you can't have too much security. And it's not just incidents like that. It's also about ransomware and other things that many organizations just have to be aware of, and also have to be the cyber defenses in place to prevent this from happening across the board. And on the next slide, please, we'll talk more about the AI market itself. And this is using Futurum Group's AI data. And what we've done is that the Futurum intelligence team has conducted a survey to better understand AI trends. And this is just being driven by the entire ecosystem, our customers and partners and so forth. And naturally, what we want to do is just figure out how can decision makers make better planning around AI, looking at how AI can be better adopted, how AI internally can be better developed and used, and so forth. So really, it's a common sense approach to here is something we have to know about. Now, how can we best optimize the AI capabilities? And that is, a survey that we're actually going to be updating every 6 months. So this is giving people, a running awareness about the AI journey. And this is truly a journey. It's not just going to be a one-off purchase and you're done. This is something like, okay, it's impacting my everyday operations. It's impacting customer experience. How can I keep on top of it to keep this, these benefits flowing? And I think this is a very helpful survey because of the sample size. We have 1,009 responses right off the bat across IT, business, and AI professionals. So this is, I think, very valuable information. And if we turn to the next slide, I can start drilling down on what we're gaining from our survey. Perfect. All right, first of all, let's understand the size of the AI market itself overall. And as you can see, it's growing dramatically. It's already big. And what I mean by the AI market, the way we define it, it includes AI cloud compute, development tools, platforms, end-to-end AI applications, and SaaS embedded AI technologies. And so that's a lot, but this is, showing just how dramatically important AI is. AI cloud compute, I think many people understand, it's working with somebody like Azure or AWS, Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud. You get the whole idea in terms of being able to support some of these capabilities such as AI training, and these heavy lifting data centers that have the GPU clusters that enable, really the foundation for AI if you're using, public cloud or open source capabilities, but there are alternatives to that as well. And that's all very important. Now, what we saw is that there was a huge spike from around 65.7 billion to 87.2 billion in 2023. It really was, the Google versus Microsoft as to who has the best, chat GPT type capabilities using natural language processing, based on large language models. And that has quite simply initiated kind of a arms race in terms of who can get the best AI capabilities out there. And this is not going to let up anytime soon. Now, there's certainly been a surge in terms of 2023 spending. It's continuing this year. And we're going to have, an update on that to double verify that. But as you can see, it's at least a 20% CAGR over the next few years, pretty much locked in. There could be variance. Now, I'll show you that it can actually increase even more if things like advancements in algorithms, machine learning techniques, and natural language processing capabilities simply get better. That is, the benefits are so great that people are going to simply prioritize more AI investments. On the concern side, AI is certainly putting lots of demands on the power grid. So that could be a limiting factor. But once you balance it all out, no matter how you look at it, we're looking at a pretty significant cager for how we define the AI market. Now let's drill down. Where is this overall market having the most impact in terms of segments? And we'll start looking at that on the next slide. Thank you. And here I'm just looking at the top 6 segments. There's over 24 segments in our survey. And across the board, one thing that is a key takeaway is that AI is integral to the automation of operations and business processes across all industries. This is coming across as the top reason, or it's certainly within the top 3. Look at retail. In addition to automation, and retail is at the very top, so I'm just going to look at this very briefly, is that it's preventing fraud and theft, that AI is identifying anomalies and so forth. And again, I touched on how AI can play a key role in preventing things like ransomware, just making your cyber defenses more intelligent. Now, I stopped at number 6 because that's where telecommunication lands. It's at $7 billion. That is pretty a significant revenue just on the AI side. And so in addition to the automation, why are the investments flowing in here? Why are the revenues being seen at this level? It's about, again, network performance optimization. Certainly the experience is vital, but also there are some very other important reasons like predictive maintenance and, again, enhancing security. So what we're seeing is that AI is enabling the scaling of data and the analysis of data at unprecedented levels in terms of how can the fiber network be best implemented or best scaled and so forth. And it's also in a more real-time fashion. And so what this means is that AI is going to usher in more reliable and efficient fiber networks. And it's going to be, I think, central to, in addition to other capabilities that augment AI, or AI is augmenting it. And if we'll turn to the next slide, we can understand more how is the AI split flowing? That is, where are the investments flowing? And we wanted to look at who is relying on outsourcing versus insourcing. And that, I think, will help place bets, quite simply. Where should investments go? Now, the good news, I think, overall, is that this is win-win for the fiber industry. That is, outsourcing and insourcing are pretty much balanced. It's almost a 50-50. Outsourcing is 51.7% and insourcing is 48.7%. And what we mean by outsourcing is quite simply working with a trusted partner, third parties, to get the AI capabilities up and running. So many organizations have been using AI, that is pre-gen AI for automation, using it with machine learning. But for many organizations, these are new investments, particularly on the GenAI side. And so that's why we are seeing outsourcing having a slight edge. And again, the outsourcing spans across our overall survey in terms of SaaS and embedded AI capabilities. We're talking about companies like Salesforce and ServiceNow being able to incorporate AI to make those applications all the more valuable and useful to the customers out there. And the end-to-end AI applications, again, it's about using a trusted partner who can take care of the overall integration. It's quite simply, getting things off to a good start. And then we might see more of the insourcing, and I'll turn to that. On the insourcing side, we're seeing that AI cloud compute is certainly going to be a key part, and that is, working with a third party like AWS in order to, get the AI capabilities optimized. And what I think is important here is that can mean the cloud providers deploying their resources at the organization's premises. So it's not like having to go all the way to the public cloud to enable this. Many organizations prefer the security of having on-premise deployments, but also it could be a co-location implementation or quite simply a private cloud implementation, leveraging, for example, VMware capabilities. And I think this is all coming to the forefront, that more organizations, we anticipate, are going to start relying more on the insourcing capabilities. That is, they're going to train language models that are right sized for them, so they can quite simply either avoid or minimize investments in having to, using AI training on those huge, AI clusters, using those GPU capabilities that's doing the heavy lifting. But it's going to be a blend. It depends on the size of the organization. That's always going to be important. The AI training that's occurring on those huge GPU clusters at the hyperscaler data centers. But in addition, I think we're going to quite simply see more training using existing, say, CPU resources at the premises and being able to use a private cloud and right-sizing the AI capabilities for the specific needs of that organization. So it's going to be a lot of variance here. Journeys for all organizations of all size. The larger organizations are going to do some of the outsourcing, but I think smaller organizations will do a blend of outsourcing and insourcing. And regardless, it's going to mean more fiber. That is, if you're doing the insourcing, AI PCs, for example, are going to drive demand for fiber connectivity, fiber to the premise, for example, or remote employees who have to work from home need fiber to the home to optimize their AI PCs, as an example. When it comes to outsourcing and even some of the insourcing implementations, you need fiber to scale the data centers, both internally and externally, across metro rings, across the WAN, and so forth. So regardless of where the insourcing or outsourcing is being implemented, fiber is going to be a key role in being able to scale all these AI capabilities. And with that, let's look at more of the impact of AI and some of the outcomes that are important. Okay, this is something that was at Fiber Connect. That is, let's look at AIOps specifically. It's been around for a while, but now it's really coming to the forefront. And one thing that I think is important to understand is that AIOps is critical for digital twins. And already we've seen the questions. How can AI play a critical role in fiber network builds? And this is where I think a difference maker can be made. Through digital twins, you have a real-time read of the network. And this is something that is not unique to fiber networks. We use it every day in terms of like GPS, Google Maps or whatever. We have real-time information as to where the traffic congestion is. How can we get the best route to where we're going, to our destination? Same principles here. How can we avoid network congestion within the fiber network? A digital twin gives you real-time emulation information. And this is where I think we could see a lot of impact. And that, I think, came out at Fiber Connect on some of the important panels there. But it's other important things, bandwidth management, being able to actually get closed loop automation more widely implemented. Again, monitoring real-time use of, the customers and so forth. But also, it's also automation of next best actions in terms of troubleshooting. Yes, sometimes a fiber cut will occur. How can we speedily repair it, and how can we speedily work around it so that the customer either has no interruption, or you can proactively reach out to the customer, hey, we had a cut, it's going to take us an hour to fix it, or whatever time frame, versus no information and waiting hours or days for the service to be restored. That is simply something that needs to be avoided. But I think another huge impact is in the field tech area. Already, we see half of organizations are using AI with field service software to transform operations. And for example, Salesforce software is being used in this by fiber organizations specifically. Another 37% are preparing it also to integrate into their overall business processes already. And this is information from FieldAx. And that is, again, on the billing side, on the service assurance and service fulfillment side. And already 2/5 of organizations are looking to use AI to, again, use digital twin type capabilities to optimize how the network is running, but also how to optimize the new builds, how to, reconcile job prioritization. Say you have, 5 emergency calls, which one should be taken care of first? AI can take, I think, make a difference in that regard. And if we'll turn to the next slide as I wind down here, share a couple of additional key takeaways as to where it's having impact. I think this is important information. It's not just about fiber to the premises and broadband fiber, but also terrestrial long haul routes. These are completely new builds. It's distinct from the existing carrier paths. This is showing how much it's impacting. More dual metro rings and massive markets. But I think what's an important takeaway here is DC Block shared this at Fiber Connect. There's 864 count fiber cables per span That's equivalent of 45 petabits of network capacity per span that is resulting from all this build. And so this is linking more directly AI and fiber. And I think this is important. Now, the only caveat I touched on this is it's also generating up to 1.2 gigawatts of power burn per site. So we have to keep a close eye on the energy aspects here of the AI training and all the demand that's generating. This could be a limiting factor, and hopefully AI can help optimize how energy is being used to quite simply train itself. And with that, I'll turn to the next slide because we definitely want to get to the questions. Going to wrap it up here. Yes, this is quite simply, okay, AI is driving fiber deployment transformation. I touched on this. I think the most important takeaway here is mutually reinforcing and beneficial. AI and fiber are meant for each other. Fiber is going to enable the scaling of AI, and in turn, AI is going to make fiber capabilities more intelligent, better customer experience, and so forth. And on that positive note, I'll turn the mic over to you, Gary, and let's start tackling a lot of these questions. Thank you all very much. Happy Fiber Day. Gary, I think you're on mute.
You can tell that AI is taking off with just the way NVIDIA stock is going crazy. But so one of the questions, I think this is a really good one from Peter, is beyond the impact of AI for network efficiency and customer experience, which pretty obvious, you can see. How do you see the direct impact on applications in the digital home with AI?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think it's going to be a combination of things. I think, first of all, we're already seeing people using it. That is, the GenAI capability. It could be, a chat bot that is, taking advantage of natural language processing that has been, trained and then inferenced on a personal device. And this is good news. For the digital home, that means a consumer or a small business can use this information to quite simply make their overall experience better. It can augment what the operator is offering. That is, okay, I'm looking to get Wi-Fi throughout my house or throughout, the structure. Where can I best deploy, a Wi-Fi hub so I can, make sure that there are no, blind spots or so forth. And I think this is something that can directly impact digital home. And that's just one example. The other examples are, again, self-support, i.e., they could take advantage of, a operator's offering here, but also do it yourself. Okay, I want to make sure that, my router has the security upgrade that I need. And so I can use AI to, get that information more quickly and avoid doing a generic internet search, wasting time trying to figure out which site has the information. Gen AI capabilities can make that information more precise and more real time. So I think those are just a couple examples, but it's broader, implementing a smart energy plan and all that. All that's going to be linked to AI capabilities and AI underlining the automation of it.
So you would see not only would it optimize your network performance in the house, making sure that you have your access points in all the right places, and you every room in your house, every location is getting the maximum capacity, but also the integration of all your devices, whether it's your doorbells and your thermostats and all your cameras and your security and everything else is going to be more AI driven from that whole network.
Yeah, no, I think it's already happening, and I think it will just make it smarter. It'll just make the overall experience of implementing these things quite simply improved. And so, yes, I think it's also getting the AI capabilities embedded so that, when you're installing things such as this that could be related to a digital home, that it will just be all the more, user-friendly, all the more, one push of the button and you're done type of scenarios.
Let me slide one more question in here. So how do small providers get their boards, executives, and IT to embrace AI given all the privacy and security risks? So do you have a strategy?
Yeah, I think excellent question. Yeah, it's about the right sizing that I talked about. If you're using open source, AI engines over the internet, there is, some concern. Now you can customize that so that it's secure. But what we're seeing is that many organizations are keeping those capabilities in-house. They're just quite simply using an open source, Gen AI capability and keeping it only on their network through, a private AI implementation, a private cloud implementation, or working with a third party to make sure it's secured and bolted down so none of this information ever leaks out into the open internet or, the cyber defenses that we're talking about. And so we're already seeing that. We're already seeing that organizations, small ones, are, right sizing the AI for their needs, using smaller language models that don't require, heavy lifting GPU clusters. They can just use the existing CPU servers on their premises to enable all this. So that helps simplify it. Also, I think we're looking at all the benefits that are flowing in. It's like, here are organizations, just the data from our conversation here, it's already impacting the ability of field tech to dramatically improve the efficiency of how much time they need to spend on an installment, how much time they need to spend on a repair. We're seeing clear benefits in terms of customer support, customer experience, but also I think we're seeing clear benefits in terms of bill explanation and things of that nature. So I think that is going to be a very solid pitch. Like, we need to prioritize AI adoption. We just need to figure out how to best go about it, how to make the investments pay out the best.
So Ron, lots and lots of questions about how do smaller providers or tier 2 and tier 3s, how do they get started, where they begin. So, perhaps people can reach out to you and get some input on that. So Ron, just thank you so much. We really appreciate your research and all your contributions to advancing our industry. And I thank everybody for joining us today and look forward to getting back together next Wednesday. We're going to be with Joe Hickey, the founder and president of Rock Networks, who's going to discuss fiber differently, rewriting the rules of fiber deployment and adoption. So you're not going to want to miss that. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Gary. Happy Fiber Day all.